Yeah, the call of wild's always bringing me home. Call of wild's always bringing me home. Call of wild's always bringing me
Okay.
home.
Well, hello, wild ones, and welcome to another episode of the Find Your Wild podcast. I am so excited to have this guest with me today, Stella Porta, alchemist, dreamweaver. What else would you say? Artist, oracle. What else would you add to that beautiful list of
That was already, I already feel so honored. Dreamweaver, you covered
Yes.
artist. So that wild woman, since we are, in a wild woman
Yes.
podcast. So
Yes. I'm very excited to have you on and to chat with you today. And I think that first of all, your name is so cool, Stella Porta. And then when I was like looking into all of the things that you have to offer and the About You page, I love that there is an even deeper meaning behind your name. So maybe for people listening, if you want to give a little bit of a background to how you got to Stella Porta.
ooh, yes. I feel like that's such a loaded question, but it probably isn't. So I'm probably going to end up making a short story long. I apologize in advance.
Yeah.
But for my parents, they were trying to decide between two names when I was born. And it was between Stephanie and Melissa. So the doctor ended up choosing for them because they couldn't decide and they chose Stephanie. I was creating art and I was trying to figure out how can I sign my name because my first, my middle, and my last name have 9 letters in them. That's a really long name to sign. So I was in meditation one day and I just asked, I'm like, what should I sign my paintings for going forward? I can't keep I can't keep having all these names on my paintings. So I went to sleep and I had a dream about my name, and it was Stella Porta, which is literally my first name and my last name put together. And it means Stargate in Latin. And so both of my names, because my last name means of the gateway, of the door. So this theme of portals has been really, really strong in my life. And it's been woven
Yeah.
through my names. And I've been very fortunate to have really good, authentic Akashic record readers that also, confirmed it without me saying anything. They've also confirmed that too. So the name that I do go by now is Stella. That's the name that I resonate with most. Only my family calls me Stephanie. But they both mean the same. Like it's really incredible that both of these themes of doorways and portals, especially since my whole life has centered around dreamwork, I don't believe in
Yeah.
coincidence. Yeah, I'm not one to believe in coincidence. So it was just, for me, a clue. It was a clue on this path that I'm going to say I found, but really it found me. It was already kind of laid out before me because I see paths kind of as spider webs. So there's this infinite amount of paths that you can take to get to the center of the web. So I just happened, it didn't matter what path I took. I think it was going to lead me here anyways, because I came from a totally different background. But even just the name Melissa blew me away because when the bees started coming into my dreams, and we can, of course, talk about that later, if that's something you want to talk about, I discovered the Melissa. And it was just really incredible going through my baby books and realizing that the other name my parents were going to name me was Melissa. So I've always had this sort of honeybee energy just woven through my life, or at least trying to get to the forefront.
Yeah.
And, in a lot of our Western cultures, names aren't really consciously chosen. In terms of like, when we look back to indigenous cultures, a lot of them dreamt for names. Like it was a really powerful thing to name someone was to set them on their path to really weave their destiny, essentially. So I thank the doctor for choosing that, but I'm wondering what my life would have been like if I was actually named Melissa. But either way, the bee found me. So I couldn't
Wow.
escape it.
I mean, it's so beautiful. And like, I mean, you can't even say like that. I don't believe in coincidences either. I mean, how incredible is that? Just the name and all that you stand for, and now all of your work. So, I mean, it was meant to be.
I love it. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't say I chose this
So,
path. I always say the path chose
right?
me. It chose me. I didn't
Yeah.
definitely wouldn't have
So,
guessed my life would have went in this direction.
yeah, I really love this. So, and we hinted at bees, which I think we'll get into a little bit more, but I would love to kind of ask a little bit more about like your beginnings. So, how did you get into dream work and kind
Mm.
of being able to really also expand that into showing other people how they can work with their dreams?
Well, that's a very good question. I have always been a very prolific dreamer. I would dream things before they happened, such as people getting pregnant, and I would confirm it. Especially with past lovers, that that was a big one. Was seeing, keeping. Not I don't want to say tabs, but we were connecting in the dream time, and it was kind of keeping up on each other's lives. Only if there was a friendship, obviously, before our
Right.
relationship changed. But for me, I always wondered what I was ever going to do with this because dream work is, I don't even know if you would consider that a niche, I guess, because as the consciousness is rising, it's become a niche now.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
really, it's not really something that you go and tell people, like, I'm a dream work facilitator. I didn't really know how that was going to unfold. For me, it was just personal. It was just, I always kept a dream journal. I would always track the arc and the themes of my dreams. And I would see that things would come true, or it would show me the direction or the guidance it would take. And even when I was living in Australia, I would dream of crocodiles. And then the job offer we would get would be in, I was going to call it a province because I'm Canadian. It's not a province. In the state of, where was it? It was Queensland. We ended up going to near the Daintree rainforest where you couldn't swim in the oceans because there were crocodiles in them. So it was just this thread that I kept following, and I always trusted them. And I always see dreams as personal oracles. So whenever I would dream something, I would take that advice over, let's say, someone else's, something outside of me, something external. So it really taught me to trust myself. And then as I started having these experiences, people would start coming to me asking me about their dreams. What does this mean? I dreamt this. Or they'd be really excited to share something that came true that they dreamt. Because usually, especially in our past, with women's history or herstory, I want to call it, I don't want to say gifts because we all can do this. We all dream. But
Right.
abilities, we could call it, such as those, this sort of clairvoyance through dreams was heavily looked down upon. So I feel like there's this wound around that between sharing that because you think people are going to call you crazy. They're going to call you insane. They're going to call you a witch. So I had these people coming to me, sharing their dreams with me and asking me about, for my feedback. And so the years passed on, my dream journals got more and more filled. And I'm old school. I'm not really someone that likes to type them out. I like to handwrite them.
Yeah,
So
I'm the
I have,
same. Yeah.
right? I have books and books. Like I come from the era of photographs before, taking digital photos. So it's like on a phone, on an iPhone, right? So I love
Right.
photographs. I love the tangibility of it and that feeling of just touching it and looking through it because it's almost like it makes your story, because that's what dreams are. They're your stories into a tangible book, something you can look back on. It's like your adventures in the dream time. Because I believe that we can travel interdimensionally, visit different parts of ourselves, which I'm sure we'll get into later. So
Yes.
that, for me, if I'm being completely transparent, I used to have a lot of dreams where I was fighting what you could call demonic entities. And I just want to point out, I was reflecting on this morning or last night, that it was when I was heavily Christian. So very
Right.
interesting that that subconscious really played out in my dreams, and I was always feeling like I needed to fight and to
Mm.
fight evil. And so once I started expanding my mind more and my consciousness started evolving, the dream sort of shifted. And it really, really took a turn quite a few years back when I started dreaming about bees. I was actually dreaming about wolves long before that. Wolves have been showing up for most of my life. I can't even pinpoint the exact moment. But bees for the last 5 years continue to show up in my dreams. And what really set me on this path in terms of sharing these gifts with the world and teaching others how to do this was when something had popped up on my phone from the Shift Network, and it was with Ariella Daly, who's also one of my mentors. I'm in her beekeeping apprenticeship right now, and it was intentional dreaming with European bee shamanism. And I'm thinking, wow, okay, this is really strange because bees are just coming into my dreams really, really prominently, and I have no idea why. The spider also showed up too, but I guess we can get to that in another segment. So much to unravel here using the weaving technology I do, or not technology, analogy
I love
is a
that
technology.
symbolism.
But I do. I use that a lot. So forgive me if if I overuse it. It's just really prominent theme in my life. And so this Shift Network ad comes up, and normally I'm the type of person where it'll take me a long time to decide if I'm going to do something. Like I'll think about it. I'll just keep talking to my husband about it, and he'll just say, just sign up, just do it. But it'll take me a week or two. That's just how I am. But for this, within 5 minutes, I was like, I read through it, and I'm like, I have to do this. Something is calling me to this work. I need to do this. Why are the bees coming to me? Literally within a week of signing up for that, all of a sudden there's hives on the property that we park our tiny home on.
Wow.
And they just showed up. And we have direct dialogue with the property owners, and they never mentioned that they were getting bees. So it was really, and I'm really synchronistic because it wasn't a coincidence. It was synchronistic. The bees knew they were coming onto the land and they would need a steward. So the hives are there for quite a few months, and my dreams start becoming more prominent. I start having these dreams of bees with deformed wings and deformed bodies, and they're crawling on the ground, and I'm in a house. In all these dreams, I'm in a house, which I come to realize later, and I'm getting chills as I say this, is the hive. It's representative of the darkness of the hive. The hive is a womb. They live, although they do their work in the sun during the day, all their medicine in their dream time is created when we dream at nighttime. So the hive is dark. It's a womb. Scientists have likened it to a mammalian womb. So I'm in this like dark house to represent the hive. And these bees I'm having many, many dreams of bees being deformed. So finally, I wake up, I look at my husband, I tell him about the dreams, and I say, I need to go to the hives. And I want to be fully transparent. I had a fear of getting stung. Okay, this is not something I wanted to do. They were calling me and I answered. So I went to the hives, and lo and behold, I think you can even find it on my Instagram. My first video I put up of finding bees with deformed wings on the ground. So as soon as I discovered that, I start diving into everything bee tending. I don't like calling it beekeeping. I like bee guardianship, bee stewarding, bee tending. So I start learning everything I could within the week, and I approach the property owners and I ask to take over. I ask if I can, for free, I ask if I can tend to these hives because they asked for my help, and I answered the call. Like I said, I didn't choose this path. It literally chose me. The bees claimed me as their own. So there's no other way around this, honestly. So yeah, I learned everything I could, and I ended up taking my first Dreaming with Bees class with Ariella, and that opened up a whole new door for me. Bees started, I wasn't going to take it because I was already dreaming about bees and I'd already taken the other one, but the bees just like the dreams kept getting more and more. I was like, okay, I'm listening. I mean, clearly there's something else that like you want to show me, but it needs to be, in circle with other women, because there's something really ancient and powerful about dreaming in real time with women, which is why I now teach those types of courses. And I hold those sort of containers. It's very powerful. So I did that, and that's when Honeywomb dropped into my world. And that is when my business, or I like to call it my mission, business seems very three-dimensional, but it is. We're living in a three-dimensional world right now in terms of business. That's the way it operates. So yeah, it all just came together. I created my logo came
Finally.
together. I created that on my own. It took me a long time because I kept trying to perfect it, but it finally came together. The serpent, also been dreaming about the serpent for years. So I started finding all these connections, and the wolves are connected to the bees, and it just all came together. I couldn't even pinpoint an exact moment for you when this started,
Yeah.
because it doesn't move in linear time. And that's what I love about dreams. They transcend linear time.
Um,
It's like an ocean. I know many indigenous tribes have related it to a lake or a large body of water where you can dip into the past, present, and future. So it's not a stream where everything is only flowing in one direction. When it comes to dreams, you can step into this ocean of dreams, this lake. I guess ocean's pretty vast, but we could say lake of dreams that represents time, and you can dip in to different times,
mm.
different dimensions. So it just started weaving itself together. And those have been the most prominent dream allies for me: the bees, the wolves, the spiders, and the snakes. So,
Wow.
yeah.
That is so
Sorry,
powerful.
that was really
No,
long.
thank you so much for sharing that. And I feel like people listening can get a better sense of, who you are and how you have come to even like weave all of these things together. Because and what I find so fascinating is the more that you really dive into the history and all the things that you talk about on your Instagram handle and everything like that, is how intricately connected they all are, which is
Yeah.
absolutely unreal, which we're going to get into. But I did have a question for you, kind of going back into what you were saying about, people coming to you and asking you about dreams, right? I feel like I grew up and there were all of those dream interpretation books, and I feel
Mhm.
like I've come to like such a different place. So it'd be very interesting to hear from you, someone that's very connected to dreams, what you think about all of those dream books and interpretive books.
My grandparents had a dream dictionary, and I remember going through it when I was a child. It was from the 90s, so it was a very old, old, big,
Yeah.
huge book that they kept in a drawer. Or maybe it was honestly, it was probably above the toilet, which I find really funny now. But,
Yeah.
but because a lot, that's what everyone did. They had books, sitting, crossword
Yep,
puzzles, all that stuff.
exactly.
So I'm pretty sure it
Before
was in the back.
phones.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was in the bathroom. This was the age before phones.
Yes.
So I remember reading through it and looking through it, but nothing ever resonated with me. And I've come to really realize now, and I will say that I do not teach what I have not embodied. I'm not that type of
Yeah.
teacher. Like, I am very much about authenticity and integrity. If I haven't experienced it myself, I don't teach it. So I can't
Yeah.
speak to things that I haven't experienced, only what has worked for me. So keeping a dream journal is the number one tool I tell everybody. And I know some people, they don't like the idea of writing things down. Life is busy. I totally understand that. Even if it's just in bullet point, or you can draw it out. A lot of the times I do both. Sometimes I haven't in a while.
Mm.
I need to get back to that, but I have a whole watercolor journal just for painting out dreams for certain things I've seen that I want to remember.
Mm.
And for me, I am someone who tells people not to look at dream dictionaries, to not buy books like that. You don't need an app to tell you your dream. Although I will say I have used Google to research certain words that have come up in dreams. Like, I've dreamt words in different languages that I don't know in this lifetime, that I believe
Mm.
are from past lifetimes, or I'm tapping into a different version of me that lives in a different culture. That's not the same
Right.
ethnicity that I have now, because I learned it's just words come to me and I wake up thinking, why am I dreaming? What are these words? So that's the
Right.
only time really I Google stuff, if I get a name that I don't recognize. But what I do with my dream journal, and there was a very prolific, he ended up becoming a bishop. His name was Synesius of Cyrene, and he wrote this whole treatise called De Insomnis, and it was a treatise on dreams. That's what it translated to. And it's really quite incredible because he was pulling things that, I mean, obviously earlier cultures knew about, But this was
Right.
at the time when the Roman Empire was collapsing. And you think about the Sibyls and how important they were to the Roman Empire, all the empires really, because that's where most of the people in power would get their information from. Women were very important. They played a very important role, especially
Right.
specifically with dreaming. And he always said to keep 2 books. And I was doing this before I even discovered this information. So this always just confirmed and validated things for me in the path that I was on. So he said to keep a nighttime book to record your dream experiences and a daytime book for your synchronicities, signs, and omens. So these are what I call your oracles of the night and your oracles of the day. And that is when you start to pick up these threads that end up following or tracing back to the same web, so to speak.
Wow.
So you actually end up creating your own dream dictionary, which I find way more resonant and way more powerful, because energy is just a language. It's the language that the universe speaks. It's the language that your subconscious also speaks, but your subconscious will use symbols, right? Because
Right.
in our dreams, there's no ego. We believe they're real until you get to the point of lucidity, of course, and then you could start,
Yeah.
really, you start really having some fun and understanding. Like when I become lucid, I ask the dream characters questions. Like I want to know things, and I've discovered things about people, about, relationships that weren't honorable, that weren't in integrity. It's been really incredible. So for me, that dream dictionary, that is the most important tool, because at the end of the day, your body is the only tool you need. That is what I
Right.
truly believe. You don't need apps. You don't need books. Although it does help for context. Like, I'm obviously an avid
Sure.
reader. I have a free resource on a Google Doc. If you go to any of my Instagram stories, if you ever type books in any of my stories, you'll get that link, that free Google resource. But I'm a very avid reader. So I find it really
Me too.
interesting, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, and that's the thing about dreams. Think of all the books, that have, and all the stories and the TV shows and the movies that have predicted things before they happen. Where do you think like this stuff they're pulling this
Right.
information from? Right? People
Yeah.
dream
Like The
about it.
Simpsons, I think of, right? They're always predicting.
I'm like,
Yeah.
because when you dream, even if it's a daytime dream, you're still accessing different states. So when you're in that theta state, you are accessing, these different timelines, which is why,
Mhm.
I mean, you see things like The Simpsons where it's predictive programming, but you wonder where are they pulling this information from. And I've watched movies from the 80s that I'm like, wow, okay, that ended up coming true. How did they know that? I'm like, oh, because dreaming is so powerful for creatives too. Like if you're a naturally creative person, they've done studies on this, you actually dream more vividly, more like you're more of a visual dreamer. And a lot of the times, because you're so visual in your waking life and you're so creative, we're all creative at the end of the day, but there's different levels of creativity. So when you do that, you actually get to access things and inventions. Like look at Nikola Tesla. He dreamt a lot of his inventions. He would see them in his mind and then he would put them together. Same with Friedrich Kukuli, where he discovered through a dream of the snake, the Ouroboros, what the benzene ring looked like. There's so many. Linus Pauling. There's even with nightmares. Edgar Allan Poe wrote a certain story based on a nightmare. Mary Shelley, I think that was her name, who wrote Frankenstein. Same thing, based on a dream. The man who created the sewing machine. I teach these in my courses. But the man who created the sewing machine also discovered, he realized what was missing in his machine because he had a dream where tribal people were attacking him with spears. So he ended up creating the needle end the same as the spear. I'm getting chills
Wow.
as I tell you this. So
Chills.
yeah,
Chills. These are
right?
incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
any type of dream, whether we consider it good or bad, can be an oracle for something in the future. I call it an oracle.
Yeah.
Some people might just call it inspiration, but to me, they're kind of synonymous for the most part.
Yeah. And I feel like it's also it reminds me of the terminology of getting a download or something, right? You're getting this valuable piece of information, whether that be, and it's obviously usually through your dream state, but this level of subconscious that's coming through and giving you these little gifts. And I feel like that's the thing that I really love about dreams, and that I've really appreciated like through your work and like just over time through like my own experiences, is that recognizing that the dreams are so subconscious, like to you and what they're representing, and it's really specific to who you are. So it's nice that your friends have the resource in you because you know them to be able to help them undo and unweave, right, like some of the dreams and symbols that are happening there. So amazing.
Yeah, that's how we become mirrors for each other. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
We're just mirroring who they are, back to them, right? Like, I really believe
Yeah.
in personal sovereignty with dreams. That's why I don't recommend people go buy dream dictionaries. I'm really about personal
Right.
sovereignty and looking within yourself, because dreaming is the oldest technology that there is. Literally, we are born in the womb. We spend our first 9 months dreaming, suspended in darkness. And even beyond that, before that, as a soul, or even just the universe itself was created from a dream, right? Everything is like, and I know the Aboriginals of Australia, because I lived there for 2 years, I loved their cosmology around the dream time, because it makes so much sense to me that the world, the earth was created, the universe was created through the dream time. It makes sense to me.
Yeah, and something else that also really pops to my mind too is that, during the day, obviously we have the sky, right? Our sky is
Mhm.
blue, but it's a reflection, right, off of the earth. And then the nighttime is actually the true sky, right? Like what you're actually seeing pass in the universe. So it makes sense that the dark is actually the place where truth lies and where you can find those um like those tidbits of truth, and whether that be through a download or your subconscious trying to relay that information to you, the
Yeah.
truth is in the darkness, in the womb space.
Yes, and we've been taught to fear the darkness, right?
Mhm.
A lot in part because of religions, especially Abrahamic religions, and just certain belief systems that took away the feminine power of the dark. That's the sacred dark, the womb of the universe. And a lot of the
Right.
oldest cosmologies, they were feminine. And I don't want to get into gender because it goes beyond that. I mean, spirit goes
Right.
beyond that. But
Yes.
there was an intentional erasure of that in our own human story because there's so much power in it. I mean, think about the oracles. In the past, we got the Pythia, um, the Sibyls, a lot of them received their oracles in caves, in darkness, in the Aditon. It was the underground part of the temple, right? It was in darkness. So there's something really powerful about the sacred dark. And I always make sure to make a distinction about that, because there is, of course, darkness
Right.
that represents an energy that wants to take from life. So it's the opposite of creation, right?
Right.
It wants to take. We could call it evil, which really is live backwards. It's the opposite of being alive,
Mm.
right? Of life. It's the
Right.
opposite of life. And my work, specifically in the dream time, it focuses on the sacred dark. It is the gestation, right? The gestation of the creative womb, of the universal womb, the womb of the earth, our wombs, the womb of the mother god, mother goddess.
Yeah. Yeah, I also think that that space too, that sacred darkness is really important for healing, right? Because the more if we, ignore our shadows and like things that are in our subconscious
Mhm.
self, like the shadow self, then
Mhm.
that kind of ends up popping up in different ways in our lives that, are going to be not beneficial to us, or we're not going to work through things. And I truly believe in past lives too, and I believe that if you're not going to work through those things in your shadow, you're going to go into the next life and it's going to keep forcing you to live that until until you kind of work through those subconscious experiences. But, especially because I've been really focusing on my shadow work very recently, I feel like, especially over the last couple of years, I've really noticed a difference in my life, like not having just this tension inside, like being able to give myself grace because I've explored this
Mhm.
shadow aspect of myself. And I really feel like it's such an important place to heal. And the more that we heal, our cup floweth over, right? We're able to give that and help other people as well.
Yeah, you said it perfectly. And that's why I teach women how to use dreams for abundance, for healing. Healing's a big one. For
Yeah.
creativity, for direction, life direction, for love. I mean, how many of us, at least once in our lives, has had shadows come up in the dream time where we're dreaming about being cheated on or being abandoned by a
Mhm.
lover, right? I've been through it. I used to have those
Yeah.
dreams all the time before I'm going to be doing something with that at some point. But yeah,
Mhm.
it's a very common thing. You even see memes all over Instagram with that, POV. You're mad at your partner because you caught them cheating in your dream, and it's like, so there
That's
it
right.
speaks to, right? It speaks to very,
Yeah.
very deep shadows that you have. And so
Yeah.
that's what I love about dreams. It's really the truest way, I believe, to access yourself. And when I say yourself, I'm
Mhm.
talking about the capital S, talking about the lowercase s, like for self. I'm talking about all the selves and all the universes and all, it's
Right. Yeah.
multidimensionality. So, I mean, who better to know you but you? And
Exactly.
we we really give our power away so often, and I went through that too when I went through my own conscious awakening and elevation, where I was looking to all these readers and trying to figure out who I was, not realizing that my dreams were telling me the whole time. Like, here's a
Yes.
breadcrumb, here's a thread to follow. And we come from this world now where there's a big sense of entitlement in terms of we want things right now, we want answers right now. So with dream time, I have to say it is a devotional practice. It's habitual. It's work. Essentially, dream work. It is work because it
Right.
requires a certain level of devotion to yourself, because that's who you're communicating with, is yourself. Right?
Yeah.
So it's putting yourself first. To me, it's like the truest form of self-care sometimes that I need, where I just need to close my eyes and go to sleep and ask for answers. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the other thing that also kind of makes me think, and I think it kind of leads me into the next like kind of topic that I want to ask you, but especially about all these ancient priestesses, right? And how they're doing their own healing and dream work, and then they're able to then again use themselves or help other people and women with mirroring what their dreams are. So, yeah, I can't believe how fascinating it is. And then just especially like the symbology of the bees, the snakes, the even the dolphins, the wolves, how they're all super connected. It's unreal.
Yes. And they're all connected to the womb, essentially, which to me transcends beyond just the physical womb, like the womb of the earth, the womb of the cosmos, the cosmic womb where all life is created from, not just human life, like the life of the
Yeah.
cosmos, everything. I'm not sure what your specific question, if you had a
Right.
specific
Yeah.
question.
I was like,
Otherwise, I could
I
keep
led with
going.
more of a point than a question, but I would love to maybe start off with, and because we mentioned them in the beginning, the
Mhm.
Melissa, which I also have an Aunt Melissa, so shout out to my Aunt Melissa. But when I started like, hearing your podcast and listening, I was like, oh, that's so cool. I really love that. And just
Yeah.
the ancient priestesses. So for people that don't know who the Melissa are, maybe you can mention and give some, context to that, what we were mentioning earlier in the episode.
Sure. So, Melissa actually means bee in Greek, especially the part mel. Whenever you see the word mel, that usually
Mhm.
points to a thread, meaning honey. And this is this a week ago. We could talk for hours about this.
Yeah.
I honestly, even in my courses, 2 hours is never enough. I usually end up going over and I still don't get to everything I get to. So I'm going to try to condense this in a way
Sure.
that
Yeah.
is palatable and honors your time. So with the Melissa, I always have to preface this by saying that there are many different mythologies. Like there are many different versions of every mythology, every story. So I'm
Sure.
only going to give like one or two because there's so many. There's different translations, different variations. And to say one is the correct version diminishes the way that myth was used to push
Right.
certain narratives of certain times in history. They all served a purpose depending on what the purpose was and who was telling the story. I always say that
Right.
the power lies in the person who is holding the pen. That's what I say when everyone, asks me about the origins of something, because it's whoever wrote it down, really, right? We can't refute it. We can't go to them and ask them about it. So we're just trusting what resonates will resonate. So one of the stories of the Melissa is that they were born of the Meliads, which were nymphs. And nymphs are, my teacher said it this way and I loved it. It was minor divinities of wild places. So they're in this like in between, which I love because that's my favorite state in the dream time, the hypnagogic state, the liminal space. That's the space that the bees inhabit, the serpents, the wolves. So the spiders, it's that very liminal space where it's not quite manifest yet, but it's there. Like the foundations, the blueprints are coming together, but it hasn't transcended from the non-physical to the physical world because everything starts in the non-physical, in the energetic realms first, in the realm of thought, in the realm of dream. So with the Meliads, they were nymphs. And what I love too is that nymphs are only ever women. Like they had the satyrs, which were kind of like masculine versions of that. But the nymphs are always women and they're always connected to the earth and to the land. So the Meliads were born from, if we go back to the myth of Uranus and Gaia. So Uranus was castrated, and as his blood dropped onto the earth, it created the Meliads, which were the nymphs of also the ash tree as well, I believe. And from that same story, that is when his blood also created Aphrodite when it fell into the water. So you have this connection already between these bee beings, these bee nymphs, and Aphrodite, who's also a bee goddess. Now, Aphrodite is one of those goddesses that is even older than the Greek pantheon, before the patriarchal gods came into play, really. And she, to me, I call it a rebrand. Anytime I ever talk about this, I say it's a rebrand. Everything is just a rebrand over time, depending on the culture, depending on the narrative. They just rebrand things. It's just, I
like that terminology. It makes sense. Yeah.
It is. Everything is rebranded. Every religion, every cosmology, it just keeps being rebranded. And people will take a certain cosmology and they will rebrand it and make it their own and sell it as their own. That's what it is, right? Which is such a powerful parallel to business, right? It's like, that's what it's like, the business. I just thought, let's call it the business of belief, because belief is a business now. People profit off of beliefs, right? So, and beliefs are really just the stories that we tell ourselves and the stories that others tell us and the stories that others tell each other. That's really what a belief is. And then it just becomes adopted as your own story. So I love that story because of the parallel. Like, that's the myth I really focus on, just because that parallel between Aphrodite being born and the bee nymphs, it's just mind-blowing. And I mean, the fact that they're also connected to the ash tree is really important, because the bees are actually, especially honeybees, are naturally arboreal beings, which means that they nest within the cavity of a tree or the cavity, of a cave as well. But if we left them to the wild, most of them would, be living amongst the trees within the cavities. So I like to call it the heart of the tree, the very heart of the womb of the tree, right? The trunk. So there's so many stories. There's also another story of Zeus being nursed by the bee nymphs when he was being hidden after he was born, and he was fed on honey, on on honey from these nymphs. And there's also the three eye, which are the bee priestesses. Sorry, that was not the right word. Bee priestesses. Although there is a lot of sacred prostitution in these stories, clearly you can tell what I've been reading up on lately.
Yeah.
And there's, I apologize for that, the bee
No
priestesses, the three eye, who also used pebbles to divine. They would actually use pebbles for divination as well. And they became heavily associated with Apollo, of course, because Apollo took over the Delphic sanctuary, which originally belonged to Gaia. Delphi comes from the word Delphis, which means at the root womb, which is also the same for the dolphins, as you mentioned earlier. Delphinus also comes from the same root. Dolphins are also linked to the womb, which makes a lot of sense because there's stories, and especially in indigenous cultures, of dolphins being present at births. When you do a birth in the ocean, women used to give birth in the sea, and the dolphins would surround them and protect them. And it's unfortunate, but I can't remember where it is. Don't quote me on this. It might be Hawaii, but they made it illegal to do that. So there's, I don't know if it was, I think that's what it was. You might have definitely fact check that. But
I'm gonna look that up afterwards because I'm interested in that. Like I've heard those similar stories about dolphins being present and also being very interested in pregnant women and something about the echolocation, but then I think that it also relates back to like the way that dolphins connect again with the womb. So it's like I love that you also talk about the spiral and that time isn't linear and it's just like the conscious circle going around and us going back to the same thing and like looking at it in different ways over and over again and the layers.
That's exactly it. I don't even know if I used that term. I meant to. So thank you for using the term spiral. Because that is what it is. That's how I teach it. I must have missed that. I've got a lot going on in this mind of mine. So yeah. Sorry, I'm kind of getting off track here, but
it's okay. I feel like there's so many things that I want to talk to you about that it's easy to get off track.
I'm really trying to not go all over the place, but it's so hard when you start to see the connections and the threads between everything. So
yes,
for women's herstory particularly, and Max Dashu does a great job at explaining this, but really a lot of our herstory was hidden in the etymology of words. It was an easier way to pass on knowledge because there was such an intentional erasure and rewriting that it was a kind of, I guess you could say, a clandestine way of sort of keeping that thread alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's so interesting.
It's so interesting. I feel like I would love to also maybe because I feel like I could go on with you about this like forever, but I would also love to ask you about like the wolves in the dream space, especially since you said that like they always popped up for you. I feel like I'm also like super connected to wolves and they've always been this kind of like background, like whether in dreams or in synchronicities or something like that. And the wolf just like pushes me forward. Like Women Who Run with the Wolves was like such a big initiation for me in my life towards this journey that I'm doing right now. So I love that you connect the wolves to dreams. So maybe just like tell us how they all connect, at least for you, how you teach it. And
of course. So I was going to bring up that book, but you did it before I did, because that book resonated with so many women, and there's a reason for that. I mean, I want you to think about the fact that dogs are so close to us. They're such companions for us. At some point, it's been said that they evolved from wolves a very long time ago. So there is this connection. So sometimes when we even see wolves in historical records, they reference them as dogs, but at the time, a lot of when I start digging through and I start really pulling apart the research, it makes more sense for it to be wolves at that time in history.
right.
So with the wolves, particularly for me, they weren't always pleasant dreams. The wolf would show up when I needed to see something. There's a very strong protective energy with wolves, and you'll see that especially in certain breeds of dogs that are closest to that genus, particularly to that bloodline, I guess you could say.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. And when I started dreaming about wolves, because I've been dreaming about them my whole life, the ones that really started standing out to me were me getting eaten alive.
Wow.
And
yeah.
I will say that normally I actually don't feel any pain in my dreams. Like if someone were to attack me, I never feel it. If I try to attack someone else in the dream, it's like rubber. There's something in my subconscious, in my soul that does not want to participate in violence, which is so kind of opposite to the career I was in before this. but there's something within me that just doesn't want to engage in that. And the wolf is a very protective energy, right? It protects its own. It's very loyal. A lot of the qualities that I resonate with. And in these dreams, I had these dreams over a period of time, but also there was 1 month where I had them just in 1 month, and they were eating me alive. And a lot of the times it was black wolves, which once I started doing more research, connects to Hecate and the underworld and magic and witchcraft and just that other aspect of the dark, wild feminine.
Yeah.
And the triple goddess too. So it connects to that as well. And so in these dreams, they became really visceral to the point where I would feel the teeth marks. Like I would feel myself being eaten alive. And when I journeyed further and I started looking into that, it is very common in shamanic beliefs that you're absorbing the animal's power. That's what you're doing. So when you're getting eaten alive, it's a very shamanic initiation into that specific, I'm trying to figure out the right word to call it. I was going to say like animal ally, but that soul group, because each animal also has a soul group. So it's like you're getting initiated. To me, it felt like a memory, because I've had dreams where I was in the Viking times and I was also playing witness and observer. And we were living in a village, and this wolf kept following me like everywhere. And then it was killed. It wasn't a city, but the settlement, I guess you could call it, because it was really small. It was like a little village. There we go. The village ended up using it for meat. So it was a memory that my soul must have stored from a really long time ago, because this girl did not look like me. I was her and I was the observer simultaneously. So whenever you have dreams like that, this is what I teach my students, is that is an indication of a past life dream. Where you're jumping a timeline and you're going back, because a lot of the times in these dreams you won't look the same, but you'll be both the witness and the subject simultaneously at the same time, which you think, that's really, how can you do that at the same time? But you can. That's the power of these types of dreams. You're watching, but you're also experiencing it as the main character, as the protagonist. So that was one of the first dreams I really started paying attention, to be honest.
Hi, wild ones. I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Find Your Wild podcast. This episode is sponsored by my clothing brand, Femme Sauvage, and you can find a discount code and link in the description. So check it out. We have a lot of amazing designs, and $5 of the proceeds goes to different charities. So please feel free to check it out and enjoy the rest of the episode. Thanks so much.
Was that dream, that past life dream. And then I started digging deeper. And in 2022, in August, that was like almost 3 years ago now, I had a really amazing, incredible experience where I was surrounded by my paternal grandparents, my grandmother, my grandfather, and my mom, which was interesting because that was my paternal grandparents. It wasn't maternal. So my mom was there, and my husband. And so there was this book there that my grandfather was holding. And what's interesting is that they looked like my grandparents, but they were representing ancestors. Like it wasn't them. I knew it wasn't them, but they took on, and this is what I say a lot, they take on the costume of something you'll recognize, because it will, when you're visited in certain dreams, they will use what you already know as symbols. Like it's a very the dream time is a very symbolic
Right.
language. Oftentimes it's not straight to the point. It's almost like a riddle, a puzzle that you have to put together.
Yeah.
So it wasn't them, but it looked like them. And I knew it. I was lucid enough in the dream to know that. And so they handed me this book. It was this very old book. And I opened it up and there was a piece of paper inside. And on this piece of paper, there was a list of over 20 names. And I recognized my husband's last name on there. And I realized we had past lives together. And I've had many dreams like that with my husband where I've had past lives with him. And I know that as lions, as like very, very, very out there stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. So me and my husband are very connected. We've been connected in many lifetimes. And so it had his name on it. And I turned over the paper. There were these runic looking symbols. I can't say for sure if they were specifically runes, but they were runic looking. They were from that time period, that time era. And on it was this crest, and it had a crescent moon and a wolf. And right away in the dream, I shouted, I knew it. I do that a lot in my dreams. When I'm lucid, I'm like, I knew it. I knew this. I knew I was connected to this. So I say that, and then all of a sudden, in ways that only dreams can do, I'm transported, and I'm pretty much flying, I guess like a bee. And I had this aerial view of this ancient city. It looked ancient because it looked like Egypt, but it was more modernized. Could have been Atlantis. I don't know. Could it have been Lemuria? Possibly. I'm not really sure. But I see from this aerial view, because I'm pretty much up in the clouds. Like I'm looking down on this. And there are these, I don't know how to describe it, like these engravings, I guess, in the ground, almost like a carving of dinosaurs. And there were like crystals placed almost like it looked like the carving of the dinosaurs was like a dinosaur constellation. And it was like it was a memorialization of that era. So I think personally, when I understood the dream and I really reflect on it, was that it was just showing me that they were showing my past. That's what they were doing. So they took me to something that I would associate symbolically as the past. And they were showing me like, okay, this was a different era for you. And so I wake up and I start, of course, this is when I use Google. I start doing research. Yes. I look through my books first. Can't find anything. Actually, that's not true. I did find Feronia. Which was connected to Lupa, which is but I knew that story already. The she-wolf of Rome and how the city was founded with Romulus and Remus. But I find for the first time, I've never seen this anywhere, that there actually is a culturally indigenous, I guess you could call it an Italic tribe within Italy that were called the Hirpini, the wolf people. And so it was that's where this descending line, like my paternal line, when I trace them back, they are from.
Oh, right.
Yeah, my grandfather.
I just got chills. That's crazy.
Yeah, my grandfather was from, I know, I'm getting chills too. I actually sent out an email about that today, and I got responses where people were like, this gave me chills. Like, yeah, I know. Yeah. It was an experience because I wasn't expecting that, to be honest. Like whenever I had read about wolves in the dream time or even connections to goddesses, it would be, of course, the she-wolf of Rome. That was the main one, Romulus and Remus, the she-wolf who suckled the twins, the founding I guess you could say founding fathers. That seems like such an American
founding twins.
That seems like such an American term, and I'm not even American, but it's like the founding fathers of Rome, of the empire, I guess, the Roman Empire. And yeah, it was just really incredible. So the Hirpini survived long enough until they were assimilated into the culture, but they still did their best to not be assimilated. But eventually, it's really unfortunate that a lot of these, I guess you could say, for lack of a better word, they were colonizers, but they also colonized the own indigenous people of the land. Like a lot of these European countries had their own indigenous people, and they were also colonized. I mean, you could even look at Scotland itself, right? Scotland was colonized by the British, right? Like and they were all their Celtic ways, their Gaelic ways were were trying to be suppressed, and they were
That's right.
just it happened. It happened all over the world, and it's so sad. And I wish there was more that I could discover on this. I'm still looking. I'm still really, really passionate.
Yeah.
And I'm very ferocious when it comes to research. I'm going to continue trying to find whatever I can about these people. But that's
I
why
can't wait.
right?
Yeah.
That's why I think a lot of the times we're shown these in dreams, because we can't find them in our physical world, because it was deliberately
Right.
taken from us. So we can use our dream time to find answers. Robert Moss, I studied under Robert Moss too, and he calls it dream archaeology, which I love. You become a dream archaeologist where you use your dreams to unearth the past, whether it's your past or the past of the human story.
Oh, I love that terminology. Totally. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And you know what I was just thinking of too about the connection between wolves and women is there was a article that came out recently, probably within the last couple of months, and that they think that um, wolves were initially slowly domesticated, they think, by women,
Yes.
which I mean, synchronicities galore, right?
Yes. And I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't even get to the part about how wolves were connected to the dream time beyond like
Yeah.
my own personal embodied herstory. But the wolves are also connected to Artemis, right? We have Artemis, goddess
Yeah.
of the hunt, who is also the queen bee, also connected to the bees. And this is why I find the weaving between all of them. Wolves, dogs, I mean, but like I said, wolves and dogs, I kind of group them in the same category, but also
Yeah.
connected to snakes. In the temples of Asclepius, there were also dogs that attended to wounds, not just snakes. Snakes have what's called the Jacobson's organ, so they can act. It's almost like I'm trying to describe it. It's almost like I guess we could call it almost a sixth sense. So they would have snakes roam freely around the temples. And if they licked the wound, it would signal to the priest or the priestess of that temple that there was an ailment that needed to be taken care of. And dogs did
Wow.
this as well, which is why dog saliva, even to this day, is so powerful, right? A lot of people will attest like, oh, wow, like I saw my dog licked my wound and it healed faster than it normally did. So there's something to be said about these animals as allies in the dream time. So we have Artemis. We also have even Artemis's connection, because I said these are all rebranded. So a lot of the times people get stuck on, no, that was this goddess or that was this goddess. And I'm sitting here going, it was all just a rebrand from different cultures. It's all the same. Like
They're all connected.
it's like
Yeah.
it all goes back to the same goddess. Like it's just
Right.
how we relate to we personify that goddess culturally. That's all it is. It's just a personification, because humans need labels. Humans are very focused on identity. So they need something to identify with. So that is, I see it as a common thread woven within all of the goddess cultures. There's a common red thread. And so even before Artemis, what we know as Artemis, there was Potnia Theron as well, which was also a name for Artemis. So that's what I'm saying. It's just, I call it a rebrand. And
Right.
so she was also mistress of the wild beasts. And on amphoras that were found, like clay pots, you can see her flanked by wolves. Some scholars will say they're dogs. I believe they're wolves.
This is my design that I have.
Yes,
that
you
I
have
took.
it. You have it
Yeah,
right
this
there.
is
I
one of
love it.
my
I love it.
clothing pieces. But that piece, when I saw that, I forget what book that I read it in. It's like I forget what book I read it in, but I saw that the Mistress of the Animals was in there, and that's what inspired this. I was like, and yeah,
Love
I have it on here, and in the book it's called Our Lady of Wild Beasts, and I just resonated with that so much because I like grew up Catholic, but I definitely associate more with that wild aspect and the nature aspect. So I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just had to show you.
No, I love that. How did I not even see that or notice that at the beginning?
It's kind of blocked behind here, but I also painted a similar one on this amphora over here. That I got from Michael's that I wanted to recreate at home. So
I love it. I love it so
yes.
much. And I call, I'm so grateful for these relics and these artifacts that were left behind.
Yeah.
And I always say this to my husband, that artists are the timekeepers of civilization. Everything we know about the past is through pottery, through paintings, through whether they're on actual canvases or rocks or arts or sorry,
Right.
not arts, or caves, right? Like that's I say that all the time. Art, especially as an artist, artists are the timekeepers of civilization. So that will also be very interesting to see, 100 years from now, since art is evolving so
Right. That art.
digitally, how we're going to keep track of this civilization. But that's why I think
Yes.
that's why I think AI can never replace physical art, because that is actually how we understand the cultures before us, through their cookery,
Yeah.
their pottery, their clothing, right? The weaving, the art, the clothing that's found. Like
Mhm.
it's all artists. Like it's all artists. So
Yes.
thank you to that
Yes. Good
artist for
point.
leaving that for us to find, because that's a treasure.
Yes.
Like,
Thank
that's a
you.
treasure. So yeah, we have Artemis, we have Pontia Theron. Oh, there's so many. Honestly, I could go through so many. There's the she-wolf of Rome, right? So we
Mhm.
have all these wild women, and there were even what were called harlot priestesses of Rome, like the sacred prostitutes were called lupae. Why were they called after the
Mhm.
wolf, right? It's because they were something that couldn't be tamed. They were wild, they were sensual. They were above, masculine dominance.
Mhm.
Even though the irony of all that is that most of them ended up serving the needs of the masculine anyway. So it's like, why would you demonize something that you also participate in? But that's a very common theme, even in our
Right.
era. So it's like,
Yes.
it's
Unfortunately. Yes.
right. That's a whole other conversation that we could go down. And so we have that connection between the wolves and bees, Artemis, queen bee. Especially at Ephesus, Artemis of Ephesus. She has that beautiful statue.
I
Very,
love that statue.
yeah, it's my
Yeah.
favorite. I need to actually get one for my altar. That's one of them that I'm missing. But these statues seem to just come into my life. Like before the Spiral of Wings and Scales, my course, I thrifted a statue of Persephone and Asclepius. I don't know how. They just, every time I'm on
Wow.
a certain path, the universe always, they see, this is what I call your oracles of the day. They always send me signs where it's like, here, good job, keep going, keep following this thread. Like you're going places, kid. That's what the universe is saying. So,
Yes.
right. And then we also have Persephone. So Persephone,
Mhm.
queen of the underworld, was also, they have Cerberus. I don't know if I said that right. For some reason, I always get that mixed up with the technology in X-Men that he wears. I always get them mixed up. So I think it's Cerberus. If I'm wrong, I could be talking about the X-Men. Sorry about that, but it's the three-headed dog, right? So we have that aspect.
Oh,
That wolf.
Cerberus.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
See,
Yes. Yes.
my mind mixes up the words all the time, and my husband always laughs at
Oh,
me.
mine does too. Yeah.
I'm like, there's too many words that I have to keep track of. So, and I also want to do the culture right. Like, I never want to say pronounce something wrong. So I'm very hard on myself that way, but sometimes it just gets too jumbled and I can't remember because there's too many pronunciations. And every pronunciation I Google honestly ends up being different from the next. Like, there's not a singular, this is how you pronounce it, and this is the only way. It's 5 different variations. I'm like, I don't know which one to choose. So as long as everyone knows what I'm talking about, the three-headed dog. So there we go.
Yeah.
We've got that wolf-like energy too. And then we have Persephone, daughter of Demeter, which is also a queen bee. Porphyry in the 3rd century has this whole text that he speaks of to that, calling her a Melissa and calling her priestesses also Melissa. So yeah, so there we go. We have Persephone again, connected to bees, connected to the wolves, well, the dogs. I group them together, like that wolf-like spirit, the wild. And also there's, I believe it might be Etruscan art. It's earlier art where Persephone, in her Roman counterpart as Proserpina, she is in a mosaic where Hades is wearing a wolf headdress. So the wolf is very connected to this goddess as well. And we also have the Amazons who would go into battle. There's been coins that have been found in the city of Amisus, which is modern day Turkey. A lot of artifacts are in fact found in Turkey because the Mediterranean spans so wide. It is nothing like what we consider borders and structures and boxes ethnicity wise. It wasn't like that back then.
Right.
Like it was different. So these artifacts are found like all over, right? And so, sorry, I lost my train of thought again.
That's okay. We're talking about like, and it's again like that weaving, right? That it's like all just so connected, but that, yeah, like wolves, bees, snakes, they're all very connected. So it's just incredible. All of these synchronicities and how they weave together is very cool.
Yeah. So also with Persephone, and it's so funny because I realized later that Persephone is like so close to Stephanie. And I was like, oh, wow, another clue. I know. I was telling my husband one day, I was like, hey, Persephone, Stephanie. I was like, that's very close. Oh, like all these clues for me. So nothing is by accident, right? Nothing is by accident.
No, exactly.
And even Persephone also related to snakes. There are also carved reliefs of her with snakes. So, and Demeter too, holding snakes, especially in the Roman rebrand of her as Ceres. So it's like all of these animals are connected: the bees, the wolves, the snakes, and the spiders, because the weavers weave through every culture. I mean, especially as soon as we talk about dreams, we're talking about weaving, we're talking about spiders. That's really that's what we're talking about, or at least that's the physical manifestation. That's what I see these animals as, because everything's a mirror for me. Especially, that's the way I see the world. It's as above, so below. So these animals are mirrors to these deeper spiritual truths, these deeper aspects in the non-physical realm. It's like you need a mirror of the non-physical with the physical. So they're just mirroring that energy in a physical body, which always begs the question, like, what are you mirroring, right? As Brianna, what am I mirroring as Stella? Like, what are we mirroring to the world? What part of the non-physical, the ethereal, do we represent? And I think that's everybody's question, which is why we go on such a long journey trying to figure out who we are, 100%. What star systems we come from. Like I went on that was a big part. That was a big journey for me. So, it's like, and that's why I love dreams, because it can show you things that you can't find in books. And these threads, I have to say, I didn't read this anywhere. This wasn't something that I found in a book. This was something that I discovered through the dream time, through myself. Like, oh, wow, this is connected here and this is connected here. Why am I dreaming of wolves, bees, and serpents this entire year? Why these three specifically? And that's when I used books to start going deeper. What is this connection? So, yeah, it's just, I love it. I love it so much. And I work with bees in all my dreamwork courses. Even with the wolves, there will be that little bit of bee energy in there, because they're connected to these other goddesses. And what I didn't mention too is that wolves are also psychopomps in many cultures, which makes sense, right? Which makes sense with the three-headed dog of the underworld, right? In the Greek myths. I mean, we think of Hades and we think of, the underworld, but for them at the time, for the ancient Greeks, it was not a representation of hell. This existed before the rebranding of hell and having like, someone down there ready to punish you. Like it was just, in many cultures, I mean, in a lot of Celtic cultures too, it was just the other world. It was just another realm, and Porphyry, I think it was Porphyry, he even speaks to that in terms of a cave. There's a cave where mortals enter from one side and immortals enter from the other. Like, and look at that. Once again, the underworld in darkness. We're born, we ascend, and we descend also through darkness. And I say that to my husband too. Like, we come into this world through darkness, through the womb, and we also leave this world. As our body leaves, we leave through darkness. So to me, there's no fear around darkness. Like, I love the sacred dark. That is where
me too.
You can birth the life that you want, right? Life is so short on this planet. Why wouldn't you want to live it to its fullest? And why not use your dreams to help you do that?
Yeah, I've always been like obsessed with the night sky and, the sacred dark. And I think that there is something really powerful with going into, your shadow self and like the womb space and like the again the sacred dark, that dark space. But it's also going in and your subconscious and recognizing, oh, what is in here? Like, learn every aspect of yourself. The more you like shut off like those pieces and you
Mhm.
don't even know aspects of yourself, it's just going to lead to not following, your dreams in real life, like what your aspirations and all of those things. And for that, you're going to not be happy because your soul is trying to give you these inclinations of what you're supposed to be here on this earth to do, and you're shutting them off because it's like, dark or evil or something like that.
Yeah, that goes back to what I shared earlier about how so many nightmares were actually used for inventions and for like not even just physical inventions like the sewing machine, but also
Yeah,
creative inventions and stories that also changed the culture of that time, right? Frankenstein, I mean, like that was a big book.
right.
Almost everybody knows that book. Edgar Allan Poe, he had a lot of dark stuff, but many people know who that
Yeah.
is. We learn about them in school, right? At least in North America, we do. So your dreams can be such a big catalyst, even the dark ones, what we call dark, the scary ones. If we learn how to use them properly, they can be tools for to manifest like the most beautiful things. Out of chaos can come beauty, right?
A- Absolutely. And it's so funny that you say the thing about the animal in your dream that's calling to you that kind of like eats you, right? I've had a couple of iterations of these dreams that I thought I'd bring up to tell you. And one of them, I mean, it's still so vivid in my mind, and I'm also a creative, so my dreams are definitely super super vivid. I probably remember the actual, physical space in my dream more than what, if there were words that took place. But I just remember, and I literally, this is so vivid to me even right now, is there was this sunken, it looked like, honestly, it looked like ancient Greek kind of columns that were sunken into the water. And I remember kind of like
Mm.
stepping into the water, and just past those were orcas. And I just remember getting kind of tagged by them and kind of eaten alive. But anytime an orca's been in my dream since, it's been so calm, so beautiful, so connecting. And then very recently, I got to swim with them in Mexico, which was unbelievable. So I've always had these like really big pulls towards orcas. And I've also had that with a dragon. So I've had that kind of like, but it's not in my mind, it's like a dragon combined with a phoenix. And it's like the phoenix kind of is like very dragon like. And I just remember I had this dream of kind of getting attacked by the dragon, but then every time after that has been a very connecting, loving, almost protective like experience, which is just like it's such an incredible connection how you almost need to face that inner, like right, like these animals are showcasing like our inner like pains and things, and it's like almost like eating that, and then you're able to have this better connection with not only those animal allies that are showcasing themselves in your dreams, but also with yourself.
You said it perfectly, and I was going to say that too. Once you learn to
Yeah.
face them in the dream time, and I say this a lot too, if you can learn to do something in the dream time, guess what? You can do it in your waking reality. So if you can speak up for
Mhm.
yourself, if you can stand up for yourself in a dream, that is going to transfer into your waking reality. That boss that's been rude to you or that coworker, guess what? You're going to find your voice and you're going to be able to stand up for yourself. And that's what I love about these dreams. Like I've had women just in my last container too who she had said that for the first time she dreamt with the bee and the serpent during our
Mm.
container, and she had her first ever healing dream with an ex business partner that they didn't end on good terms. Like there was a falling out, and she said for the first like once she had that dream, she woke up feeling so free. And I was like, that's what it is. Like it's what I said. Beliefs are the stories, right? Beliefs are just stories. So if we can change the story consciously, that has a ripple effect into your entire waking life. I truly believe that dreams are just mirrors. Like the waking life and our dream time are mirrors of each other. Like almost like dimensions stacked on top of each other. And I wanted to say too
Totally.
that in those dreams with orcas, I love that. I have had a lot of dreams of orcas. And about a year ago, they were. I think that energy was coming up really strongly, which is also
Yeah.
on point because do you remember seeing that story about the orcas strategically tipping over boats? Do you ever remember seeing
Yeah.
that story?
Yes.
And that's when I think they were coming into be like they really want to be heard, right? Like the whales.
Yeah.
The whales also sing the songlines of the land in the same way that bees, weave patterns of light through the air. So you've got all these different animals weaving elements. You've got the whales
Mhm.
and the dolphins weaving energy and light through the waters. And then you've got the snakes weaving energy through the physical earth, the soil, especially beneath the
Right.
soil, right? The ley lines of the land. And then you have bees that are weaving energy through the air. So we've got all these different animals doing different things for our planet at this time. And just because we can't see them, they're not tangible, doesn't mean it's not happening. I mean, really, the consciousness of this planet, honestly, has been accelerating more than I've ever seen it, right? For me, I mean, in the last 5 years, it seems like, with everybody staying home, it allowed some people to be able to find themselves, to find their sovereignty, to rely more on themselves, really, and like figure out who they are. I mean, when you take away all the distractions, who are you, right? Who are you?
Right.
Who
Yeah.
do you want to be? And so that's what I love about dreams is that it takes away the distractions because it makes you face them. It's like you can't just
Yes.
go on your phone to get out of a dream, you can't just go watch a movie. I mean, yeah, you can do those things within a dream. You can dream of doing that. But if there's something you're not facing, hey, guess what? You don't want to face it in your waking life. Your dream, your subconscious, your soul is going to make sure that you can't escape it
Yep.
every time you go to sleep. You have to face it, right? Like you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
This is how we level up. And that's what I love about
Yeah.
dreams. We're leveling up. I teach women how to use their dreams to level up their lives, whether it's like, creatively, abundantly, self care, nourishment, if that's what they need, healing, like dreams. I use
Yeah.
dreams for everything. I can't even tell you the amount of situations where I was able to get myself out of because that person wasn't in integrity and they weren't who they portrayed to be. Like my dreams have saved me from so many things professionally and personally that I don't look outside of myself anymore for answers. I just dream on it. I go into a dream with an intention and usually it doesn't happen the first night. And I think that's where people get discouraged is that when they try intentionally dreaming and nothing, oh, I didn't dream of anything the first night or I can't remember my dreams. It's okay. Your dreams are just, it's almost like they're just recalibrating, right? It's almost like a computer.
That
If we
makes
talk
sense.
about downloads, it's like you're just putting in a different sequence and the computer's just going to catch up. It's okay. Like your brain's going to catch up.
Yeah.
You just have to give it time to allow your body because your body is the temple. It's the vessel. It is the bridge between worlds that allow us to travel, astrally and through our dreams and also to participate in the physical world. I love the body. And for a long time, I was very focused up here and not so much down
Mhm.
here. And that shifted a lot when the bees came into my life because to me, the bees and the snakes are a physical representation to me of the great mother, which is why they are
Yeah.
too, well, and wolves too, actually. They're like the most common symbols of antiquity. They really are. Like they can be
Yeah.
found like thousands of years ago, like they were venerated, they were revered. So for me, it's like this is how I connect between both worlds. It's like this is it. So when they started coming into my life, that's when I realized how much I needed to start listening from my lower mouth, speaking through my lower mouth, my womb, right? Especially as
Yeah.
when you have a woman's body, like um you have two mouths, really. You have the mouth up here and then you have your lower mouth, and it's like you can dream through the lower mouth instead of dreaming so cerebrally, which is how we're taught. I mean, the most common dream, I don't want to say dream analysis. dream psychologists are essentially like Freud. He's been credited with that. And also Carl Jung. And I do like Carl Jung because he did deviate a bit from Freud's work. But at the end
Yeah.
of the day, it's like the indigenous cultures, the original people of the earth knew better. They knew, right? They would dream on sacred land to get certain dreams, to heal people. They would dream for people, for their communities, for healing. I mean, that's why the temples of Asclepius even were created, because it was so popular previously, this idea of dream healing. And also, I meant to say too, when you were talking about being with the orcas, is that when you're being consumed in a dream, we can say, when you're being eaten, when you're being,
yeah,
it's an initiation. In a lot of cultures, that's a shamanic initiation where you are then being put back together. That's what it is. You're being dismembered in order to put yourself back together. And I love those types of dreams. They're scary at first, but
they are scary. It's so funny that you say that, and I feel like I just got chills again, but it reminds me of the story in Women Who Run with the Wolves, La Loba, right? Like picking up the bones and putting it back together. So I love that symbology, and just to add to like what you've been saying too is that, and I love that this is what you practice and try to help people with, is that like I love the uniqueness that everybody has, and I think that that is super important, and to be able to showcase that, like, you don't need a guru or something else. There's one thing if it's showcasing maybe how to learn something, but all the answers are really inside of you. And I think that that's showcased in what you talk about in your dream work, your subconscious. You're trying to get those answers from yourself. No one's going to know you better than yourself. All the answers are going to come from inside of you. Don't look outwards, look inwards. So I really love that is what you practice, you preach, you teach people. It's such a beautiful thing.
Thank you. Yeah, I really am focused on personal sovereignty. And even in all of my offerings, I always say, like, I may be teaching you, I may be your teacher, but all of this. I'm just showing you how to understand yourself better. It's not that you need me. You don't need me, but I'm here to support you. That's my main that's my main goal. I never want to overtake someone's agency, like their personal agency. That's not what I'm about, because I really believe it's so unique. It's like I said earlier, and just what you said, the dream books, the dictionaries, I don't like them because they're not specific to you. You have your own language with the universe, your own language with your soul. Only you can decipher that. I'm just giving you tools to help you do that, to learn your own language. That's all it is. I'm just helping you learn your own language. It's like, I can give you the hammer, but you build the house, you build your temple. So.
Exactly. And there's like common maybe threads of, like you said, about like in like shamanic tradition, how, if you're getting consumed, then that means usually that you're getting, kind of broken apart to come back together. That's like a general theme, right? But again, like the specifics of that is always going to be up to like you and your self-conscious, and like the language that your self-conscious is trying to speak to you. So I think it's just amazing. I literally could talk to you for forever. I feel like there's so many topics I could go into too, because we mentioned it briefly, but I loved when I saw that the Nereids and the dolphins and the womb. I loved that whole connection, and I guess like how that like resonates with you, and how you like, I don't know, view that symbolism, I guess, like how you did that research.
Well, just like you've been dreaming of orcas, dolphins I've also dreamed of dolphins. I really think at some point in our life, we've dreamed of probably many, many different animals. I think it also mirrors where our collective consciousness is at personally. Like certain animals will come through. Like last year of the dragon, I was dreaming of dragons. I know many people that were dreaming of dragons. This year of the snake. I've been dreaming a lot about snakes. And I think that's why my course was so popular, was because they were showing up in everybody's dreams. So I think there's a personal thread, but there's also a collective thread that we can we can follow when it comes to dreams, especially when it comes to the moon. For women that are born with wombs, we are very connected to the moon cycle in terms of dreaming. So a lot of the times, once you start to track your dreams, you can actually start to pick up patterns when the moon is in certain signs and in certain phases. Like, for example, when I spoke earlier about Artemis and the crescent moon, in my dream with the wolf and the crest and the crescent moon, Artemis is actually connected to the crescent moon. So I followed another thread of Artemis, and Artemis has shown up in my life with the bees, with the wolves, just so many things. I mean, I'm wearing her necklace right now. Like, she is a very old goddess beyond the Olympian pantheon. She goes well before that. But
yes.
Yeah, well before that. So with the dolphins specifically, when I started really following these threads and I started following the connection to the womb with a lot of these animals, especially in terms of etymology and lineage, that is when I discovered, oh, wow, okay, like the dolphins are also connected to the womb. That's amazing. And kind of how I said, it used to be where they would surround a woman when she was birthing in the sea. I find it very interesting that in some places it's been made illegal to do that. That tells me a lot. When a tradition like that is being outlawed, there's always something deeper. There's a narrative there. I think there's something so powerful there that is trying to be repressed and suppressed. So with dolphins themselves, they were also found on funerary vases. So they were also considered in some cultures as psychopomps. And psychopomps are, I mean, this also includes the bees and the wolves. They can travel between realms, basically. Like, they can, especially with bees, they believe to escort the dead. Same with dolphins, where it would kind of swim you to the other side, to the other world. So psychopomp is really just being able to travel between the realms, particularly the underworld, the realm of the dead. Or what we would call where you go after you die, the physical dead. Because I mean, every death, energy never really dies. It's just transformed, transferred, it's never really gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, so dolphins featured prominently, even in a lot of European countries. I have a document somewhere on my computer where I found in temples, in, I guess you could say cemeteries, a lot of the, I don't know what those are called. It's kind of like they're not, I guess they're crypts, like, where, like, cemeteries where they have their own kind of, it's a crypt, I guess is the word for it. And they would have dolphins carved on them, which was really amazing. And I'm talking back from the earlier centuries, like CE, the Common Era. So from like the 1st to 4th century, a lot of funeral, I don't want to say parlors because they weren't really parlors, but a lot of cemeteries, they had dolphin carvings on, headstones and tombs and crypts. So yeah, the dolphin is just really connected to the womb. And I really find that, especially in a lot of spiritual cosmologies too, the dolphins are also, along with the whales, basically singing the song lines of the world, right? They're traveling, they're moving their energy all over the planet. Our planet is 70%, over 70% water. Our bodies are over 70% water. Water is such a powerful theme and element, and it's also the element of dreams, right? A lot of the times, the dream time is synonymous with the element of water, which is why you'll find a lot when the moon is in Pisces, like certain water signs, Cancer, start paying attention to that. And I mean, I don't just mean what I'm like on tropical astrology. I'm talking about where it actually is in the sky. So get like an astronomy app and see when it's in these actual signs. And you'll see that, oh yeah, okay, I'm gonna start tracking my dreams around these moons and see what happens. Like, and you'll start finding a pattern. You'll find a theme. And certain things will come up to heal when the moon is in certain things. And I also think you might even dream about dolphins. You might dream more about aquatic beings during that time because their energy is coming out to play. Dolphins are very playful. We have dolphins here where I live too, porpoise dolphins usually. And they're close to my heart too. All these animals. I mean, all the animals, all the insects, everything is close to my heart. I can't be biased.
No,
Because, right, I'll say,
no.
oh, this one's my
Yeah.
favorite, but it changes. They're all my favorite. Like most of them are, I have so many, but
I have
they're
so many favorites. I can't narrow it down to just one. Yeah.
right.
No. Yeah.
Oh, did I answer your
Yeah.
question or did you want to
You
go deeper?
did.
Okay.
No, you answered my question. I have one more for you.
Of
So,
course.
just before you go, but um you were talking about, I forget if it was, maybe it was on your podcast, but the I loved that it was like there's the solar feminine and the lunar feminine.
Mm.
That like there's ways to access feminine in both the light and the light, like in both accesses, excuse me, in both lights, right, like the sun and the moon. So I found that really interesting, and maybe you could just like, explain a little bit more on those things.
Truthfully, I'm trying to remember what podcast you listened to.
I
I'm trying to
I
remember where I
think it
said that.
was the maybe the more recent one with, you were a guest
I was a
on
guest. Okay.
somebody else.
Okay.
If
So
you don't if it's not coming to you, I can cut this bit out too, so it's not a big deal.
let me actually maybe hold on. Cut this part out because I just need a drink of water. My throat is like.
Oh, of course, of course. It's a good visual for me to mark it to know.
Mm. Okay. I need to start prepping my voice better when I do like podcasts or classes because by the end of it, I'm like my throat.
So
Not
thirsty. I
it's
know,
my
and you're
fault.
giving so much information too, so I get it.
No, it's my fault because I'm like clearly I'm not using my voice properly because it shouldn't be sore after like, a couple hours. Like, come on. Okay, let me think about that. I'm trying to remember what I said because what coming to mind for me now is oh, okay. I think I got it. This might not be what I said, but something's coming to me. So,
Yeah.
okay, well, the snake and the bee are solar feminine essences, but they're also in a way lunar too, because during the sun, they're out. They're out during the day, but in the nighttime, in the evening, they also go in. For snakes, they go into the ground. For the bees, they go into the hive. So snakes go into the womb of the earth, the bees go into the wombic hive. And this brings me back to Artemis. So Artemis was the queen bee before she was rebranded as Apollo's sister. Okay. So Apollo took over the role of the sun god when she became the lunar aspect because they're twins, right? From Leto.
Right.
Leto also has a connection to wolves. I can't remember it particularly right now, but she did. I do remember reading that, which is very interesting to me. So Artemis is now rebranded as Apollo's chaste lunar sister, while Apollo is now the sun god, who is basically, if you think about it, the son of light, right? That's once again another rebrand in many different
Yes.
religions and cultures. And he is now the son of light, but he also gets to do with women as he pleases, even if he doesn't have
He
consent.
doesn't have a good reputation.
No. So whenever he's romanticized by people, it just blows my mind because I used to be like that until I really started looking into this and understanding what these myths did for our culture and how they are still the foundation of our societal beliefs today, how they shaped the Western world. And so with Apollo, like he takes over the sanctuary at Delphi. He slays Delphine, which is also I didn't get into it in this episode, but she is the daughter of Gaia. She was considered the first, in some myths, in some stories, she was considered the first oracle of Delphi, where Gaia, the earth herself, was the first oracle of the world. So the sanctuary is originally indebted to Gaia, and she has her daughter Delphine, the serpent dragoness. And Apollo comes in and slays the serpent, Gaia's daughter. He slays the dragon. Essentially, that's where we get a lot of stories about that from too, right? He slays the dragon.
Yeah.
He is now, he's now the ruler of Delphi, and Delphi just becomes Apollo Sanctuary. And unfortunately, that's how it's still recognized today. So many people still call it, the Sanctuary of Apollo. I don't call it that because he usurped the goddess is what he did, in the same way that
Right.
Tiamat and Marduk. So Tiamat was
That's right.
also the serpent goddess of creation, and Marduk slayed her and basically took over the narrative and took over the cosmology of the
That's
world.
right. Yeah.
So it's just, like I said, rebrand. Once again, rebrand. So same story over time that's perpetuated. And when stories like that are continually perpetuated over time, they become embedded into our belief system. Remember what I said about beliefs? They're stories. That's
Yeah.
what they are. They're stories we tell ourselves and stories we tell others, and others are telling us. So this pattern just gets, you can see it throughout history. It's happening today. It just keeps getting
Yeah.
repeated and repeated and repeated. Although I do find that the goddess consciousness is rising now. Also, I just want to say too that
I feel it
there's
too. Yeah.
there is a level of toxicity to both. There can be there's a toxic masculine, but there's also a toxic feminine, and I've seen both.
Totally.
So it's like,
Yeah.
it's all about balance, where we can walk side by side with each other, men and women, and not in front or behind. That is my ultimate vision,
100%.
right? Where it's
Yeah,
like, we're
me
in a
too.
circle now. We're not on a pyramid. We're in a circle. There's no hierarchy. There's no one on top. So, which is what I love about dreams too, because there is no pyramid. It's just a circle, right? And whenever you dream with other people, it's a circle. It's never a high. Even as
Yeah.
a teacher for myself, I never put myself above anyone. Like, it's always a circle for me. And so with Artemis, she once really embodied, like, the bees are solar. So she embodied that solar aspect as Artemis of Ephesus, and then
Mhm.
she comes rebrand as Apollo's chaste sister, and she becomes the lunar aspect. Although really, we all hold both. We do. We all hold
Yeah.
both the lunar and the solar. But certain animals, certain insects, because I mean, bees are insects, but to me they're mammalian to me, because their womb or their hive is like a mammalian womb, right? And they
Mhm.
actually can freeze. They need a certain temperature within their hive. It's about 95 to 97 degrees Fahrenheit. So for all intent purposes, it's a mammal to me, as much as like a
Wow.
dolphin is a mammal, right? Like, it's really
Yeah.
incredible. So, and they're masters of the element of air. So with this solar and this lunar, like, you get this. For me, that is kind of how I see the oracles of the night and the oracles of the day, because your oracles of the day is during the solar hours. It's when the sun is out. And remember that the sun is also a star. People always seem to forget that. I forget it sometimes, where I think, yeah, the sun is a star. We are so dependent on the sun that we think it's this whole, I don't know, different entity, but it's still a star, right? We're
Yeah.
we're earth and star beings, because we can't survive without the sun. And so the moon is also reflects light from the sun. So both are equally important. I find they're both important for balance. And you can see that in how they're mirrored within us as human beings, and how they're mirrored in certain species and certain animals, such as the snake and the bee, and even the wolves, right? Like, every single being on this planet needs sun and water. That's what it is. And so for me, the water kind of represents the lunar parts, because that's when we're sleeping. That's the dream time.
Right.
It's where we're dipping into this cosmic sea of timelines of time. This cosmic sea of time.
Yeah.
And then we have the sun, right? Which is really just shedding light on the things we can see in the physical. So it really is just, it's really just a relational thing. I'm not sure if I answered your question properly, if that's what you were looking for.
No, I feel like that was actually really beautiful. Yeah, I really thank you so much for, doing that. But yeah, I think that it makes a lot of sense, and I couldn't agree more with you in regards to, we need to have balance, right? Like, we all have feminine and masculine energies, solar and lunar, day and night, and it's just about having the proper balance. And I love what you said. There is no like hierarchy. Like, we all have like really good traits, and like, that's why uniqueness is so important, about like how those things balance out in each of us, and how, we in turn use that in a circle as like a community to be able to connect with one another. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's quite beautiful.
All right.
Beautiful time to be alive, I would say.
I think so, and I couldn't agree more with you with seeing that we're in a time where people are just becoming more awakened, and it's truly so beautiful. Yeah, Stella, I so appreciate you taking the time to come on my podcast. I feel like I could talk to you forever. But I really appreciate you taking the time to come on and chat with me. And I know people listening, I'm sure found this conversation so fascinating, because I know I did. And I know I have like little notes that I took in my head that I'm going to go and do extra research now after this episode. But you have so many beautiful offerings. So just let people know that are listening how they can connect with you or get in touch with you or do one of those amazing things that you offer.
Thank you so much. I know I mentioned a lot of courses only because, as I was speaking, because it's what I embody, right? It's like
Of
it's
course,
my mission.
yeah.
It's my mission. I'm like, I just want to help people with that. So I'm so passionate about that authentically. And so if you want
Yes.
to connect with me, I'm on Instagram at stella.porta. And right now, the next streaming container is Women Who Dream with the Wolves, and it's the first of its kind anywhere in the world. Once it came to me and the wolves kept coming to me saying, "Okay, it's our turn. You've done the bees, you've done the serpents. We need to come through. We want to help people." We want to help people, come back to their wild self. I was like, okay, okay, you got it.
Yes.
So I shuffled around my schedule and made it happen. And after, deciding and making the decision, because really the work starts the minute you make a choice to do it. That's what I believe. Like the ceremony starts as soon as you've decided. As soon as that intentional seed is planted, it's already begun. The work's already begun, which is why so many people that join my courses, even before the course starts, will start telling me, bees are everywhere now. Snakes are everywhere now. I never used to see them before, and they're everywhere. I'm like, yeah, I know. This is the power of this work when, like I said, your waking life and your dream time start to mirror one another. That's the whole point. So that it becomes this continuous flow, this oracle that you can pull guidance and wisdom from. So in saying all that, I Googled to see if anyone had ever done anything like this. At least on the internet, if it was out there in the world for us to find. No one's done a course like this. So I knew I had to listen. As I've been saying, I didn't choose it. The path chose me. I listened. I always answer the calls. And I'm really excited for this one. We're almost we're getting to be full. I actually started sharing it 3 months early so people could really organize their time to be at the live classes, because this is the type of work where you dream weave in real time with other women. It's not just about watching recordings or reading, extra resources, because I'm very generous with resources. I'm a giver. I'm an over giver. Like, I like to just give you everything, everything I have. So yeah, it's just, I have a few spots left, but it's just been so incredible. I'm really excited for this one. The wolves have been coming to me for so long.
I might be filling one of those spots.
I hear that, honestly. It's like, I didn't even, to be honest, I haven't even marketed it or promoted it very much. And within the second time I put it out there, it was already half full. So it's, the wolves are calling, and it's an archetype that is so strong within us all, which is why women resonate with Clarissa Pinkola Estes's book, right? That's why so many resonate. Yeah. And I mean, think of the 90s. I don't know about you, but I had wolf t-shirts, and wolf sweatshirts were everywhere. They were on comforters. They were on comforter sweatshirts, like t-shirts. I had them, we all were so drawn. Collectively, it was I think it was more than a fashion statement, though. This was something coming up to be recognized. Because remember, our creativity first starts in our dreams. I know they say there's a study that says that only, I think, this is really low, and I'm not even sure how many people they actually used in the study, but it says that 20% of people only remember their dreams. So imagine what you're not remembering. To me, okay, 20%, that's that's a really low amount out of over 8 billion people. So what's happening with those dreams? Well, I think that you are actually remembering them during the day, and that's why there's all these predictive programmings where people are creating stuff that they can see the future. They're creating art, they're writing books, they're doing, they're applying for certain jobs and their dream jobs, and they get it. And just synchronicities are lining up because we're always dreaming. That's the beautiful thing. It's not like nobody can dream. Every single one of us, even animals, dream. All of us. So it's the one way where we're all connected beyond our labels, our identities, our names, our cultures. Like, it's the one thing that connects us beyond this realm where it's like, guess what? We all dream. Like, every being on this planet will dream. The trees will dream. Everything is alive. Well, that's how I see the world. Everything is imbued with consciousness and spirit. And that's animism for you. So yeah, I'm really excited. Long story short, I'm really excited about this course.
Yes, I'm very excited too. I definitely want to sign up too, because I mean, wolves are one of my favorite animals. Like I said, I can't just pick one. And I really love dreaming, and I love, like, and I remember my dreams pretty vividly. And I feel like obviously we've been talking about synchronicities, and I think that, there's definitely a big pull to study more of my dreams. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And you have a website too. Just let people know where they can access that as well.
Yes, I always leave that out sometimes. So it's www.honeywomb, HONEYWOMB.com. And then from there, you can navigate, testimonials, a podcast, my own podcast.
Great.
Art, my art. Yeah, my art's on there too. I haven't created in a long time. So most people now don't know that I'm also an artist. It's been a while, but my art's on there. Oh, just everything. All my courses are under Dreamwork, the Dreamwork tab. So if that's something you're interested in, yeah.
Absolutely. I'll make sure to directly link it, but just for people that are maybe listening that are looking forward to it, that they can hear it too. But thank you so much for your time, Stella, and you're just so fascinating, and all of the wisdom that you hold, and I really was so looking forward to this. So thank you so much again for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Well, I really appreciate you. I feel very honored. I think you're doing incredible things with this podcast. And I just love the name too. Like, Find Your Wild. That's really what we're all trying to get back to, beyond the programming and the conditioning that we've been given. We're just trying to find our way back to our wild selves. So thank you for also being a catalyst for other people to do that.
Oh, I really appreciate it. That's such an honor. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And hopefully I'll see you again with your course. So thank you so much, Wild Ones, for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye.
Flowing to the sea, I feel the energy of life force flowing all